As they say, life is about experiences. And are you ready for an experience today? I'm thrilled to introduce you to Experiences by Taylor Brione. She is a beautiful, stunning, amazing wedding planner who will take your dream and passion and create a one of a kind event for you. You're going to love everything that she has to say.
Yes. So I have been an event planner for as long as I can remember. I planned my first wedding when I was 16 years old. So they definitely look a lot different now. But I just was inspired to start being a wedding planner just because I love to help couples really just turn their wedding days into days that they will always remember. So Experiences by Taylor Brione, we are a boutique wedding and event management firm. So we specialize in delivering the details for our customers and our clients. So we just make sure that all the little details turn into a really big day for our clients.
And if you had to describe your perfect couple, who
Our perfect couple is someone who is just excited about the process. We try to make it as stress-free as possible. I know that's kind of hard with wedding planning, but someone who's really excited about the process and clients who are ready to listen to a little bit of our expertise. I know sometimes we have our own visions in our head, but sometimes our visions are not always practical. So sometimes we have to do a little bit of get creative with making sure that we can bring our customers visions to light. So we're just really excited about working with couples who are excited about wedding planning, excited about their big day, excited about working with us, and just ready to make their day into a unique experience that they'll always remember.
so how do you do that? How do you take the expectations, especially with social media and everything they see, and how do you translate it into something that a couple can afford and that's something that they're going to love when maybe they have really grand thoughts?
Yes. So we like to, on our first onboarding meeting, we have our consultation, which we provide complimentary consultations to everyone who inquires with us. And then once they book with us, we provide an onboarding experience. So we kind of just talk a little bit about your your whole vision. So I guess in school when we were younger, we would call it like a brain dump. It's just an opportunity for you to get everything out of your head. So like Pinterest links, websites, little screenshots from your Instagram, everything. And so once we start gathering a lot of that stuff, sometimes we see that it's like 3 or 4 different weddings going on at once. And so once we kind of really just chit chat with them about what they're really wanting, we're able to kind of really hone in on what the true vision is. And so once we do that, we're able to really start working on, start with the design process, seeing what colors we're going to do, what textures, what linens, different things like that to really kind of bring their vision to life. Most of our couples, we also help with venue searching. So if they reach out early enough, so we have about half and half, or a little more than half, will reach out when they don't have a venue, and just under half will have already had a venue. So once we kind of know a little bit too about what they're envisioning. So if you're wanting a beach wedding or you're showing a lot of beachy things, we won't have you like on the downtown skyline. So we really kind of like work with their vision once we know what the vision truly is. So and then we just work in tandem with our clients the whole experience. And we're just making sure to keep their vision at the top of our mind in everything that we do. So I know we have to like focus on logistics too, but sometimes we are very people over process. And so we try to make sure that even though things are like have to be done a certain way, or people say they have to be done a certain way, we kind of keep in mind that this is our client's big day, and most people only get married once, and so we want to make sure that it's a good experience for them.
And so, do you have any tips when they don't have a venue yet? How do you direct them, or how do you help someone find the perfect venue?
Yeah, so it's kind of like really just knowing what your vision is, starting there, and also starting with your budget or spending allowance. We kind of like don't like to say budget all the time because people feel like budget is a bad word. So we kind of sometimes say spending allowance. So what do you feel like you're allowed to spend? You know your financials better than anybody else. And so it's kind of like once we get your vision, we just can kind of start looking at different places. And then we can also look within your price point. So if you have, like a modest budget, 50, 60, $70,000, we're not going to go and look at places that have minimums of $50,000 just on food and beverage, because we won't have much less for anything else. And so we'll just start making sure to look within your price point. And so I think that's a big part of a wedding planner is educating people because sometimes people don't know what things cost. And I know sometimes we go places and we're just like, this is really nice. And like, you don't know that this, what looks like it costs $20 to you actually costs $250 just for one person. And so that's a big part of the wedding planning process is that we educate our couples along the way so that they feel empowered with the knowledge that they have. So that's a big reason why people get stressed out because it's so overwhelming, so many different numbers, so many different people shouting out different things on you. And when, once you start searching wedding on Instagram or TikTok, you're like seeing an ad every other day. So we like to help our clients make sure they feel empowered with information and knowledge.
It's such a good point. I hear that from everyone. I'm just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed. And it's only getting worse, right? I mean, if you think about the bombardment of social media that we didn't used to have 20 years ago.
Yeah.
20 years.
Right. So I just feel like we have a lot of stuff now. Instagram, it used to be Pinterest, and now it's like Pinterest is on your phone on Instagram. And then we have our videos now with, TikTok and Reels. And so people are sending like reels of like displays flying around the ceiling. And I'm like, this is fantastic. Your venue does not allow ceiling installations. And so I think it's kind of overwhelming, but because it's such an exciting process and exciting time for our couples, we try to like see if there's ways that we can incorporate different things from different inspiration points for them. So if they like things that are in the ceiling and they see like chandeliers, but their venue is kind of like, a hotel ballroom, maybe there's an opportunity for us to do something right above their sweetheart table or something like that, where we can just incorporate small pieces of their vision into that for them. We never like to tell people no unless it's going to get us in trouble or get the fire marshal there. Then we'll have to be outright and say no. We try to bring in a little bit of people's vision, whatever. If there's something that they really, really want, we try to incorporate it in some sort of way.
So on that note, do you ever hold anything back like as a surprise? Like maybe you told them, I know years ago I attended a wedding and I heard the girl was just insistent on these candles and, it just wasn't going to happen in that venue. And then something changed, or maybe they changed any. I don't have any of the details. I just remember the guy running around going, she's going to be so excited when she sees the candles. He's going to be so, because she was told no. And then there's going to be these candles. And the planner was over the moon. He was so happy. So do you ever hold back and then like they're just over the moon excited when you fulfill their dream that they thought they couldn't have?
That wasn't possible. Yeah, we end up doing that a lot, especially like with decor. Sometimes when couples are kind of looking at their spending allowance and they see that they may have exceeded it or they may be right there, they'll just say like, let's take this off. And you can tell it's something that they really wanted. And oftentimes, especially if you're already spending a decent amount of money, designers are like, we'll put those, candles back on. We'll throw those chargers in, and also it helps to complete the design. So they don't do it all the time, but sometimes they do. And so when that happens, we do like to kind of have that in as like a nice surprise. And then a lot of times too, we work with our couples to surprise one another. So many times just this year, we had a cake made for one of our grooms and he had like an antique truck. So we had for the groom's cake, he didn't think there was going to be a groom's cake. And we had the truck. It's like a small replica of his truck that we turned into the groom's cake. So he was very surprised for that. And that same groom surprised his bride. The wedding we did was kind of Taylor Swift inspired. And so we had kind of like a lighting show with like lights displayed, kind of for midnight. So it was kind of like inspired by midnight. So we had lights and like a moon projected into the wall. And so she didn't know any of that. And so it's really nice to just be able to do things like that. It kind of gets stressful because especially when you have like a type A bride, she's like, I talked to the decorator and now she's saying that this is going to be moved and that doesn't even seem right. And I'm like, I'm going to chat with her. I'll see what's going on. But all the while, we're just trying to keep a secret from them. So I often do that where they're trying to surprise one another. And then oftentimes too, it may be a parent who are like surprising them with something if they thought that they didn't have it in their spending allowance. So I love to do all those things because it's already such an exciting day. We like to just really take the excitement even more if we can.
Well, and it sounds like that is really why they need you. Because think about that. If you're trying to surprise somebody or the mom is, and there's no planner and they're trying to do this alone, they can barely pull off the event, let alone a mini event inside the event being
right.
So couples really should think about that. I will tell you, for 20 years now, we've been surveying brides after their weddings. And, we always say, what's your advice? And you don't say, don't sweat the small stuff. They always want to say that. But no, what's really your advice? And they're like, have a planner. Like, especially those who
Yes.
totally regret it. It's like, I almost want to say, don't tell me you have a plan. Because like, that's how many of them say, because that's how important it is.
Yes. I like to think to myself, and I tell this to other people, even when they're not my clients, I feel like every couple deserves a planner. So I feel like, back 20 years ago, people may have thought like that having a planner was a luxury and that it was just something that could maybe afford to have. And I feel like now you honestly can't afford to not have one, especially because there's so many different moving parts of weddings as we continue to be the kind of culture that we are. We have so many different things now, and especially now with social media, people are on their phones immediately as soon as they get to your wedding. And so they're already sharing out stuff, unless we can get to them before and tell them to turn it off. But they're already sharing out different things, and they can capture different things faster now than they ever could before. So even if something was going wrong. And so it's important that you have somebody there, and ideally someone with a team, to be able to step in and kind of like, if there's a small fire, we want to step on it. We want to handle the fire while we can still step on it. And before we need to call, the fire department in. And so I feel like every couple deserves that. They deserve somebody to come in and really take the stress off of them, help them do the details, help them with just little pieces of craziness that comes up, because it just happens. It happens in our day-to-day life, but it definitely happens on your wedding day. And so even if you can't have a full planner, probably getting someone who specializes in the wedding management or a coordination package, just someone that you can really enjoy your day. You really want to be able to be a guest at your own event. And so that's what our goal is to make sure our clients are just there, enjoying themselves, just taking it all in, because ideally you only get married once.
And can you talk a little bit about the spending? Because don't you probably know what things cost? And so many times the couples don't. And so they might make the wrong decision. And if they had already met you, you would have said, no, we're not going this direction. We're going another direction. I know what to do.
Yeah. So with our full planning clients, we have a little bit more, we're able to provide a little bit more guidance to them because we're working with them every step of the way. And we also have, like our approved vendors that we worked with a lot, that we really highly suggest our customers to work with, because we know that they understand our level of service and our level of experience that we like to provide. We know that they understand and work with different spending levels. And also we just trust them to come in and just deliver. And so sometimes when we work with our coordination clients or our wedding management clients who are just doing a little bit on their own, we kind of do sometimes have to step in and kind of support them as they work, with different vendors who may or may not be on our approved list, just to help them understand, because it's you see this a lot on social media now, like they're taking advantage of brides. Like, it's the flowers. I saw these flowers at Trader Joe's and they're only $10 there, and you're charging $100. And so really just educating them on just the difference of the level of service and the difference in the level of quality. I love flowers. I just bought me a bouquet last night from the grocery store, and I put those in my kitchen and set them up in a nice vase. But when I'm doing even a dinner party, if I'm hosting Thanksgiving, I'm going to work with the florist who's going to make sure that I can have a top-notch arrangement on the table that's not going to start wilting once we have 50 people in the room and the flowers, and it's getting hotter in the room. And so it's a big part, and that's why I say a big part of wedding planning is also educating and making sure people feel empowered with knowledge. And so once you feel empowered with knowledge, then to like go out there. You're already expecting things to look like, you're already expecting things. And then you're not like in a shock factor. You're able to just go in and like you already kind of know, and then you're able to like figure out what works best for you. So maybe if you kind of were wanting like this really nice, expansive rose, you can just say, okay, the traditional roses are really great for us. I think, it looks good in the pictures. It still gives us the same effect, and it's not going to cost us that much more money. But you can only do that when you're empowered with knowledge. And so that's what we really try to do for our couples.
Sticking with flowers, are there any seasonal tips that you have? Maybe not just for flowers, but are there certain times of year in Houston that things might be more cost effective?
I find this year is a tricky year But generally, I find for me, like, in my couples, like sometimes in August, we have a little bit more flexible. We have a little bit more flexibility in spending, and then also in January, right after the holidays. So in December, you won't be able to find anything for a discount on sale or anything. It's top price. But in January, it's very quiet generally because a lot of venues and event businesses have just had crazy holiday seasons. And so it's a little bit slower in January, but it does pick right back up in February once we get in time for Valentine's Day. But it's also good to know, like, when your different businesses have their own different levels of seasons where they are busy and not. And so as a planner, I know different places who are busy. Like, I know some of my florists do a lot of weddings in the fall, so they're really busy. But I know some of them, they do less in the springtime and they're just working on, like, they're doing proms and different things like that. So they have a little bit more flexibility. So I understand those seasons. And then I know, like some photographers, they do weddings, but they also do like corporate stuff. So I know when they're slower. And so when you're working with a planner and they have that knowledge, you're able to kind of like give that knowledge to your couples and they can benefit from your expertise.
Thank you, Taylor. For more information on planners and many other vendors to help you plan the perfect wedding, log on to bridalextravaganza.com. This has been Lorette Veras with Bridal Extravaganza TV and podcast.